Greetings, metal family. John Deddy here, coming to you Wednesday with Big Four drumming tips, tricks, my knowledge, my experience of doing this for over 30 years with some of the largest bands on the planet, Big Four thrash metal drumming. So let's dive right in. I was originally going to focus this video on the physical exercises that I've designed for my new drum course, Double Bass Domination. And more specifically, why I've separated double bass exercises from traditional technical exercises to physical exercises. And then more specifically on that, the intent of the physical exercise, because it's much different than the intent of a traditional exercise. What do I mean by that? Well, all of us are brainwashed from day one that when we do any sort of drum exercise or we play any sort of song, our drumming is supposed to be evenly spaced, clean hits, and right on tempo with whatever tempo we're playing. And that is very good advice, because that's exactly what we need to be doing as drummers. We need to be on time, in tempo, and playing notes even and clean. Of course, there's feel, there's dynamics, there's push, there's pull, but our tempo has to be solid and our notes need to be clean, okay? But when we're talking about training anything physical, I don't care if it's training your body or training your drums. And I mean, we're training our body with the physical exercises while we're drumming. That method that I just mentioned about clean, even hits, it goes out the window. Because yes, we're playing a drum exercise, but the intent is not to have this exercise be clean and even. The intent of this exercise is to make the muscles fail. And many of you know this feeling all too well when you've played double bass. And as many of you also know, it's the primary reason why your double bass fails or why it will not progress to the next level. Your clean, even hits at a challenging tempo, whatever that is for you, and depending on how many measures you're going for, at some point, your clean, even hits go from evenly spaced kick drums to what happens? They start sounding like flams. The volume gets weaker. Now until it's not even flams anymore, they're just all over the place. It is horrible, sloppy, completely out of time, out of tempo, and weak, right? Why? What's causing that? Because I'll tell you right now, it's not a brain challenge. Here's a brain challenge, and this ties into the traditional exercises. A paradiddle. We all know the paradiddle. Right, left, right, left, left. Or if you're a lefty like me, left, right, left, right. Okay? Any of you that have tried doing a paradiddle at a challenging tempo, and ultimately your sticking messes up, right? It messed up because the brain cannot process that pattern at that tempo. In time, it will. I know drummers that can make a paradiddle sound like a buzz roll. They did not start like that, you guys. Repetition, practice over and over and over again, years, if not decades, to get to that point. But the brain can process it a little faster. Okay, let's try it at a higher tempo. Okay, I got it at that tempo. Let's go at this tempo. So, and all of our traditional theory of practicing drumming exercises is all based around that. Clean, even hits. If you messed up your sticking tempo, the last thing you did was keep going, right? You right, left, left. Okay, I'll start again. You stopped, and then you started again. If you've tried doing a challenging pattern on the double bass, like a Meshuggah type of beat, right? And you messed that pattern up. You stopped, and then you started again. Double bass, the simplest pattern in the world. Single stroke rolls. Right, left, left. Left, right. Okay? It is the easiest pattern on the planet, you guys. But if you play that on double bass at a challenging tempo and you fail, you start messing that up. Is it your brain? No, we all know it's not our brain. We know it's that burning feeling that starts to set in. It is not your shins. For some of you newer guys, you're like, oh, my shins hurt. It's not your shins. There are muscles between your knees and the top of your feet, right on the lower part of your legs, on the outer lower part of your legs, okay? If you need to know the name of those muscles, Google it. There's several down there. I don't need to explain that. I'm not going to go into an anatomy lesson right now, okay? So, but those muscles for most of us, now, depending if you get some of you guys that sit higher, maybe your thighs or your hamstrings might burn a little bit. But for most of us, if not all, we all feel that burn, that muscle failure in our lower legs, all right? So since we know this is a physical challenge now, or a physical issue, not a neurological one, why would we train it like a neurological one? And at the moment that those clean hits start getting into flams, why would we stop? So that's the problem with most of you. You start getting into the flams or that little bit of burn, you stop. That's all my exercises are. I get you to that point. And then once I get you to that point, I tell you to keep going. But John, it hurts, it burns. Exactly. Suck it up, Junior. Playtime's over. Dig in. Take that pain. It's temporary. It's your gateway to get to your next level of speed. And not just speed, power, stamina, strength, endurance. That's where it lies. Okay? And again, because that's physical, it's a different style of teaching. It has a different outcome. The outcome now is the exact opposite of the traditional exercise of clean, even hits. Now the outcome of this physical exercise, not a traditional technique exercise, but a physical exercise, is to fail, to get the bass drums sloppy, to get that flam going. In fact, the exercises that I've developed, if you're doing clean, even, spaced hits all the way through, I say, congratulations, you did it wrong. You did the exercise completely wrong, because the intent of the exercise is to work those muscles. You strengthen the muscles, they recover, they get stronger. You work out the muscles, you exhaust them, you train them to failure, they recover, they get stronger. Week by week by week by week. And if you adopt that, oh my God, you watch what happens to your double bass. Watch what happens to your double bass. But what I wanted to do is tie this in with touring, because, you know, there's a lot of, everything that I just mentioned to you is so unorthodox. You've probably never heard a drum teacher, a drum influencer say, hey, for these exercises, what I want you to do is fail. I want you to actually get your notes to sound sloppy and uneven, right? But that's exactly what I just told you to do, all right? And with good reason. So let's take this now to touring in a way that you guys can maybe understand. I know not all of you watching this have been on tour. There's very few of you that have. Those of you that have been on tour, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about right now. You know, there's drummers, big four drummers, they've never even stepped foot in a gym before in their life. But they will all tell you, oh my God, about the second week, unanimously. And again, you guys that have been on the road, you'll agree with me right now. What happens by the end of week 2 at the latest? Is our drumming stronger? Is our drumming tighter? Is our drumming faster? Is it easier to play some of the stuff that wasn't so easy when we first started? Answer is yes. It is much easier to play. We're getting stronger. We're getting more conditioned. Why? What is the difference of being on tour? And oh, by the way, there's a term for this. It's called getting into tour shape. Every musician, not just drummers, guitar players, bass players, singers, they all refer to this as getting into tour shape. And you'll always hear it by about the end of week 2. Dude, tonight, oh my God, I'm at level 10 now. Well, why weren't you at level 10 before the tour started? What was so drastically different of going on tour and playing for a 90-minute to an hour and 45 minutes, even if you're a support band and you're only playing 45 minutes to an hour? Why are you so much stronger and better conditioned at the end of 2 weeks? Well, again, you're hitting your body physically. Of course, the technique is there. You're playing technique, but you're not, the technique is there. But what's happening is that you're playing with much more intensity, right? I mean, think about this. You jump on stage. First of all, you're pumped because of the thousands of people, or hundreds if you're a smaller band. You know, you're playing like some clubs or something like that. That's cool too. But if you're playing in front of thousands of people, there's an adrenaline rush that comes with that, you guys. You know, just and you guys watching that, you've actually been the people in the crowd going to a show. How do you feel when the house lights are on and you see they're getting the opening band's gear off the stage and people are going to take a piss and people are going to grab a beer or whatever, and it's been about 30 minutes and all of a sudden the lights go off, boom, and you hear the intro go on and you hear and then the lights go on the stage and it's this whole thing. You're like, oh my God. I mean, are you guys pumped? Is there anybody sitting in the crowd just going, oh man, like the band's getting ready to start? Right? You know, you guys in the mosh pit, you guys are fired up. You're ready to go, right? I mean, energized. It's the same for us. It's the same for us. Now, if I was playing drums for John Mayer, maybe it's probably going to be a little different, you know, probably not the same energy, but in thrash metal, Big Four drumming, oh yeah. Any of you guys have been to one of those shows before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just full of energy and it's like level 10. And so naturally, you're going to be playing with a lot more intensity. You're going to be hitting harder and not even realizing that you're hitting harder. The space between the songs. If you rehearse with your band here in a room like this and you end the song, somebody has to change a string, somebody's got to take a piss, you know, oh, let me get a drink or whatever. And now it's like been like 2 minutes before you're going to the next song. On tour, it's seconds, you guys. I mean, don't take my word for it. Like go and watch a tour, watch a band play. Count, like literally watch Slipknot or watch Slayer or watch Anthrax or Testament. Do a set and sit there with a stopwatch. Song ends. Watch the seconds. I'm telling you right now, it is 10 seconds at the most. Some songs are a little longer if the singer's talking and stuff. But for the most part, 10 seconds, maybe 12, 13 seconds is the average going into each song. It's not a lot of rest time, which means your cardiovascular your cardio is staying at a higher state the whole time. And you're hitting. And some of those parts that are challenging, that you're, you know, maybe there's some double bass parts that because you haven't played at a full intensity level, they're a little more challenging in the practice room. But after doing this for 90 minutes, 3-4 nights a week, by the end of week 2, you're on fire. You're on fire. And again, it all goes back to you are putting your body through a physical conditioning. Yes, you're doing technique exercise as well, but the technique is not that's not why you're getting stronger. That's not why everybody goes, man, I feel so great. And by the way, this doesn't just happen for drummers. Guitar players, bass players, singers, they all go through it. You know, here, I'm going to share a story with you guys right now. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying, I would not suggest any of you do what I am sharing with you that I did. And the only reason that I did what I did is because it was with a Big Four thrash metal band. And since Big Four thrash metal has been my life and I know the music like the back of my hand, it's just natural to me. That's why I did what I did. So, okay, here's the story. It's my first tour with Anthrax. November, December 2012. Anthrax was supporting Motorhead in Europe. Charlie could not do the tour. Charlie called me, asked me if I could do the tour. And of course I said yes, it'd be an honor to do this for you. And this was my first tour with Anthrax. No rehearsals. That's the way it's rolled with me for the last 20 years. John, can you help us out? How awesome is that? You know? Um, so, and one of the things I noticed about Anthrax at that time is that there were a lot of the older songs that they were playing that Charlie or they just decided they were going to play at a slower tempo. And especially the songs that caught my attention were songs like Caught in a Mosh, the middle part of I Am the Law, and there was another song. I'm trying to think of the other song. I think it was Death Rider. Maybe it was Death Rider. And I was like, man, they're really, I mean, it's one thing to pull the tempo a little back, but man, you know, when you hear that, like I have those songs burned in my head and I have those tempos burned in my head and the feeling burned in my head since 1986. And so when I heard the songs, I was like, oh my God, it almost sounds like polka. You know, it's not even going do da do da do da do da. It's like do da do da do da do da do da. I was like, oh fuck. So now I did. This is the way they're playing, and I had talked to Scott, and I said, you know, I noticed some of the tempos are pulled back, and you know, he's like, yeah, you know, we just didn't want to, you know, it just sounds like it. I forget the exact reasoning that he gave, but he justified it somehow by saying this is the way, you know, we've just kind of pulled back some of those tempos now, and I was like, okay. Now mind you, I didn't know these guys. I never really, you know, I'd met them here or there throughout my time with Slayer and Testament, but not like ever really hanging out with them. So, but I knew, I knew in my heart of hearts that those songs needed to be played at that tempo. And I could not, in good conscience, play those songs at a polka tempo. So I started to devise a plan. I said, okay, I'm going to do this very first show with the guys, and I'm going to play it exactly how Charlie plays it. I'm not going to fuck with any tempos. I'm not going to change anything. I'm literally going to play the polka beats and do everything as they are used to hearing it. Because the last thing I want to do is play something different where it sounds unfamiliar. And as we as drummers know, the worst, you always know when something's not going right is when the guitar player turns around and looks, right? Or the bass player has to turn around and look. Not looking at you, the crowd, but has to turn around. So I did that first show. I didn't get a turnaround once during that show. And we got off stage, I think it was Wolverhampton in the UK. And Scott was, it kind of tripped him out a little bit, you know, because he was sitting there, he was like trying to think, like he was going through every song in his head when we walked off stage. And he's sitting there and he's like, I don't think there was anything wrong. Because I literally think you played everything perfectly. And it was true. And I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, you know? And so, but my plan was for the second show, I was going to push the tempo just a little bit in some of those songs. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then the next time I was going to push a little bit, and I was going to push a little bit. And I was going to do this over the course of 2 weeks. And at the end of the second week, we were playing, I think it was the Zenith in Paris. And I said, okay, having a conversation with myself. Okay, Mr. Deddy, this is the night. It's like sold out. It's like an amazing crowd. I think you can go online. You can actually type in Anthrax 2012 Zenith Paris, and you can see the show. But that was the night that I said, I'm going to go all out and hit the tempos. I Am the Law, the middle part, and I Am the Law. Da, 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 da. And even, you know, Scott started it at a tempo. And as soon as I came in with the beat, I started jumping it up. Caught in a Mosh, you know, I start that with that, you know, with the drum fill that goes into the fast thrash part. So anyway, I did all of that. I hit it all at top speed, waiting for the turnaround look. But I didn't get any turnaround looks. And we were just thrashing and it was so awesome, you guys. So awesome. I was just like, oh, this is how this needs to sound. And with my background, I can confidently say that. Now, if I was going to go into a band like Avenged Sevenfold or, if Pantera was still around, or, you know, I would not do this because I'm not well versed in a band like Avenged Sevenfold. I'm a little versed in Pantera, but nowhere near to, like, if I say Anthrax, Metallica, Slayer, I know exactly what to do. I can confidently say that to myself. I know exactly what to do. So we get off stage, and I'm waiting for somebody to say something in the dressing room. You know, hey man, it was a little fast tonight, or something. I didn't get anything until Scott. It was literally what Scott said verbatim. Okay. And this ties into the tour shape as well. Because remember, when you're playing faster, what's happening to everybody? They have to, you know, the bass player has to move their fingers faster. The guitar player has to chunk their picking hand faster, right? Everybody's moving faster, which is working those muscles and the physicality more. Scott gets off stage, or we all get off stage, we get in the dressing room, and Scott goes, man, this is literally how it sounded. He goes, man, my picking hand is on fire. Oh my God, the way I was digging into I Am the Law tonight was so awesome. I don't know what it was. And he was like, God, it was just so freaking heavy tonight. I haven't felt like this in years. His words, literally. And I think Frank said something the same thing. And Joe was like, yeah, it sounded great, man. The crowd was great and everything. And I stood up and I decided to confess. And I told him exactly what I did. I said, well, you guys, I played the songs a little bit faster tonight. And I actually have been slowly playing them a little bit faster because I just wanted you guys to hear what your songs, not my songs that I wrote, you wrote it. You wrote these songs at these tempos. I wanted you guys to hear what your songs sounded like. And so I was waiting for you guys to go, hey, it's too fast or whatever. And Scott's sitting there like, he has this look like I don't know if he's like getting ready to yell at me or if he's just like he's trying to process what I just told him, you know? Because in a way I kind of tricked him. but all with the best intentions, right? And again, you guys, if you find yourself in a situation where you're filling in for a band, especially for the first time, unless that band has been your life of drumming since you were a teenager, I would not recommend you do that. You know, you have to be absolutely certain. I was absolutely certain. So, but ultimately he was like, man, this is awesome. Why haven't we played it this way? We're going to have to start playing the songs again this way. That was just so awesome. And the rest of the tour was like that. And I guess they liked it because that was 2012. And I was pretty much I was filling in for Charlie exclusively from 2012 all the way up to 2018. There might have been one show that Gene Hoglan filled in, but basically every Anthrax tour from 2012, when I jumped on, to 2018 was all me. And yeah, you know, at one point, you know, it's bad when you look at the Wikipedia page for Anthrax and it's a group shot with me playing drums. It's like, I think you need to get back here, Charlie. So anyway, let me bring this all back in and wrap this up, because that story, look what happened, right? Why was Scott digging? Why was he so excited that he hasn't been able to play? Why was he hasn't played like that in years and his picking hand is on fire? Why is my drumming feeling so great after 2 weeks, like where I can sit down and I can do all these fast fills with so much more ease? And how about you guys? Again, you pros that are watching right now, you agree with me? I know you do. Every single one of you watching right now, you're like 100% agree. Tour shape. And tour shape is the same as, again, it's a physical training, you guys. It's a physical training. And so it's not physical training so much to failure, like the exercises that I was talking about. My exercises are the next best thing to get you so that your lag time to get into tour shape is minimized. Okay. That's why I originally designed it, to get into tour shape. Okay. So, but anyway, I hope that makes sense. I just wanted to explain the difference between technique, exercises, and physicality, and how physicality, when you're practicing physical exercises, it requires not just a different mindset and focus, but an understanding that there's a different outcome that is completely different from a traditional drumming exercise. Clean, even hits, absolutely warranted over here in technique. Physical exercises, fail. Fail in drums means sloppy, uneven hits. No clean hits. Clean hits, wrong. Clean hits, good. Clean hits, bad. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I hope the touring story and the touring analogy kind of helps to bring it in if you can, as you think about this. Again, I know for many of you that haven't been on tour, it's kind of hard to understand that. But if you can get your head wrapped around the fact that you're playing a 90-minute to an hour and 45-minute set, like going, right? Seconds between songs. Some songs tied right together, okay? And doing that for an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, 3, 4, 5 nights a week for 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row. Again, Google your band, look at their tour dates and go, wow, an hour and 45 minutes drumming. Wow, John's right. Oh my God. They played 5 nights that week. They had 1 day off, and then they did 5 more shows. And then they had 1 day off and they played 3 shows. There's nowhere for your drumming to go except up, because you're increasing the physicality. You're increasing your strength. You're increasing your cardio, right? Oh, I'm going to say one last thing too. Ask any drummer, any pro drummer, if they had the option, knowing that they were going to go into a studio and record an album, if they had the option to go out and do a 4-week, even a 3-week tour, a 3 or a 4-week tour before going in and recording their album, would they do that? I'm willing to bet 100% would say absolutely. Because when you get into that tour shape, playing your songs, right? I mean, it's not even like you're working out in the gym. You're doing some extracurricular exercise to make the main thing stronger. You're doing the main thing every night, and that's getting you stronger. To go out and do that for 3 or 4 weeks, take 3 days off, and then go into the studio and record, my God, that would be like the perfect scenario. And I'm willing to bet and again, if you're a pro, tell me I'm wrong. Say, no, John, I wouldn't want to be in tour shape before recording my fast double bass parts for my next album. I want to take 6 months off, put on 20 pounds, enjoy the good life, on the couch. And then I want to go in and play my 200 BPM double bass that I have written for this part. But it's okay. We got technology. We'll just do a little drum machine. Anyway, of course, I'm joking. So I hope this brings some light to the physicality part. And again, you guys, technique is super important, but physicality is super important, if not essential, for thrash metal. Okay. Until next week, you guys, be safe out there. As always, hit hard, play fast, and keep it heavy.